Ladies and gentlemen, there was a time when I stood at the edge of my own courage, looking down, afraid to jump. My knees knocked like old church bells, my hands trembled like leaves in the wind, and my voice, oh, my voice hid itself deep in the well of my doubt. But I tell you now, confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build, brick by brick, step by step, day by day. You do not wake up one morning and find it signed aside waiting to dress you in power and grace. No, my dear, you mold it, you shape it. You stretch it over your bones and let it settle in your soul. There will be those who will try to shake it loose. They will say you are not enough. They will whisper you do not belong. They will try to tie your hands with fear and steal your voice with doubt. But listen to me, child, don't you let them. There was a time when I thought confidence was a gift given to the lucky ones, the chosen ones, the ones who walked into a room like the air itself had parted for them, like they belonged before they even spoke a word. I used to believe they were simply born that way, fearless, sure, steady, but I have lived long enough to know that confidence is not handed down like an heirloom. It is built brick by brick with steady hands and an unshakable will. Nobody wakes up one morning wrapped in self-assurance like a silk robe. Nobody is born immune to doubt. No, confidence is something you craft with time, with patience, with every step you take despite the trembling in your bones. It is a skill like any other, a skill that must be learned, practiced, sharpened. And let me tell you something, building confidence is not about waiting until you feel ready. It is not about waiting for the fear to vanish, for the doubt to disappear. If you wait for that day, you will wait forever. Because confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to keep going even when fear stands in your way. It is saying, I may not know everything, but I know enough to take this step. It is whispering yourself, I have earned my place, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. You see, confidence grows in the doing. It does not sprout from silence or hesitation. It does not thrive in the shadows of self-doubt. It grows every time you choose to stand up, every time you try, every time you decide that your day deserves to be heard. You do not wait for confidence to find you. You step forward and confidence follows. Now there will be days when you falter, days when doubt creeps in, whispering its old tired lies. You are not good enough. You are not smart enough. You are not ready. But hear me, doubt is nothing but a thief, a trickster, a shadow that disappears the moment you step into your own light. And when that doubt comes knocking, you do not let it in. You do not feed it. Do not entertain it. Do not let it settle in your soul. Instead, you remind yourself of what you have already overcome, the storms you have weathered, the mountains you have climbed, the nights you thought you wouldn't make it through, and yet here you are, still standing, still rising. And let me say this, confidence is not loud, it's not arrogance. It does not demand attention or beg for approval. True confidence is quiet, steady, rooted. It is knowing your worth without needing the world to confirm it for you. It is walking into a room and not shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. It is speaking your truth with grace, even when your voice shakes. It is standing firm in who you are, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. But oh, my dear, confidence takes practice. It takes showing up for yourself again and again. It takes refusing to let failure define you. It takes looking at your reflection and deciding, I am enough, because you are, even when you stumble, even when you doubt, even when the road feels long and uncertain. So go on. Step forward. Build your confidence like a house made of stone, strong, unshaken, unbreakable. And when the world tries to tell you that you do not belong, smile and say, watch me. There is something you must understand about fear. It does not come to destroy you, but it will try. It will creep in when you are standing on the edge of something new, something great, something that calls your name in ways you never imagined. It will sit beside you when you dare to dream too big, whispering all the reasons why you should stay small, stay safe, stay silent. But fear is not a master, it is only a visitor, and self-belief. Self-belief must be your permanent home. Now, let me tell you something about visitors. They come, they go, and they only stay as long as you let them. Fear will knock, and if you are not careful, it will make itself comfortable in the spaces where your courage should live. It will plant seeds of doubt, water them with hesitation, and before you know it, you will find yourself trapped in a house built from your own uncertainty. But you must remember you are the landlord of your mind, the gatekeeper of your spirit. Fear does not pay rent here. You do not owe it space. Fear is loud, but self-belief is stronger. Self-belief is not boastful. It does not need to announce itself to the world. It is steady, grounded, unshaken. It stands tall even when fear comes knocking. It whispers, I belong, even when doubt tries to drown it out. And the most beautiful thing, the more you choose self-belief, the quieter fear becomes. But do not mistake self-belief for the absence of fear. No, my dear, even the strongest among us have known fear. Even the most confident have felt it sitting heavy on their chest, making their hands tremble and their voices shake. The difference is they did not let fear make the decisions. They did not let fear take the driver's seat. They did not let fear define their story, because the truth is you can feel fear and still move forward. You can hear its voice and still choose your own. You can acknowledge its presence and still refuse to be ruled by it. There will be moments when you stand at the doorway of opportunity, your heart pounding, your breath uneven, your mind racing with all the ways you could fail. And in those moments, you must ask yourself, what if I succeed? What if this is the moment I prove to myself that I am more capable than I ever believed? What if this is the day I step into the fullness of my power? Because, my dear, fear will always show you the worst case scenario, but self-belief. Self-belief reminds you that you are built for more. You must choose to believe in yourself, not just when the road is smooth, but especially when it is rough. You must trust your own strength, not just when the world claps for you, but especially when it is silent. You must stand firm in who you are, not just when you feel ready, but especially when you do not. Because readiness is a myth. No one is ever truly ready. They simply decide that their belief in themselves is stronger than their fear of failing. And if you fall, if you fall, you rise. You gather yourself, dust off your doubt, and stand tall again. Because failure is not final, and fear is not the end of your story. Self-belief is the foundation, the rock, the home where your confidence will thrive. And when fear comes again, you will smile, shake your head, and say, not today. There will come a moment when your voice feels like a stranger in your own mouth. When the words sit heavy on your tongue, uncertain, afraid. When you have something to say, something worth saying, but fear wraps its fingers around your throat and squeezes until silence feels safer. I know that moment. I have lived in that moment. But I am here to tell you, speak anyway. Even if your voice trembles, even if your words shake like leaves in the wind, speak. Because your voice has power, and the world needs to hear it. Too many people go through life swallowing their words, tucking away their thoughts, making themselves small so they do not disturb the air around them. They believe they must wait until they are sure, until they are strong, until they are fearless before they can speak their truth. But let me tell you, certainty is a privilege not granted to the courageous. Courage is speaking before you feel ready. Confidence is using your voice even when fear stands beside you. And I know there will always be those who tell you to be quiet, to lower your voice, to sit down when you were meant to stand tall. There will be moments when you wonder if your words even matter, if anyone is listening, if you are speaking into the void. But hear me, your voice does not need permission to exist. Your words do not need approval to have value. Whether one person listens or 1,000, whether the world embraces your message or rejects it, your truth remains. Your voice remains. It is not about speaking the loudest. It is not about demanding attention. True power is not found in noise, but in conviction. It is found in the quiet confidence of knowing that what you have to say is worth saying. It is found in the courage to share your story, your ideas, your perspective, even when doubt tells you to stay silent. But using your voice is not just about speaking up for yourself, it is about speaking up for those who cannot. It is about using your words to uplift, to empower, to inspire. Your voice can be a bridge, a light, a force for something greater than yourself. But only if you choose to use it. Only if you choose to believe in its power, even when it shakes. So let it shake. Let it tremble. Let it carry the weight of your truth, even if your hands tremble with it. Because a voice that quivers with courage is still a voice that matters. And one day, when you have spoken enough, when you have dared enough, when you have stood firm in your truth enough times, you will find that your voice no longer shakes at all. You will find that it stands strong, steady, unwavering, and you will wonder why you ever doubted its power in the first place. So speak. Speak your truth, your story, your dreams. Speak even when your voice trembles, because one day it won't. Doubt is a quiet thief. It does not announce itself with a crash or a bang. It slips in through the cracks, settles into the corners of your mind, and makes itself at home. It whispers in a voice that sounds like your own, telling you that you are not enough, not ready, not worthy. And if you are not careful, if you do not guard the door to your own belief, doubt will make a home inside you. It will steal your courage, your dreams, your voice. But hear me now, you do not owe doubt a place in your life. It may not, but never hand it the keys to your destiny. There will be moments when it feels like doubt is the loudest thing in the room. When every step forward feels like a mistake, when every word you speak feels uncertain, when every decision is haunted by the question, what if I'm wrong? And I will not tell you that you will never feel that way again. Doubt is persistent. It is stubborn. It will return again and again, dressed in different clothes, disguised as reason, as logic, as protection. But you must recognize it for what it is, a test, a choice, a moment where you decide whether to listen or to rise. And I know it is easier to listen, easier to believe the voice that tells you to wait, to shrink, to step back. Because doubt is convincing. It knows your insecurities, your fears, the wounds you have yet to heal. It will use them against you if you let it. But you are not obligated to accept every thought that enters your mind. You are not required to believe every fear that comes knocking. You have the power to question doubt the same way it questions you. What if you are not enough? But what if you are? What if you fail? But what if you don't? What if they laugh? What if they judge? What if you fall flat on your face? But my dear, what if you soar? Because here is the truth: doubt does not know your strength. Doubt has never seen what you are truly capable of. It only knows the limits you have accepted, the barriers you have yet to break. It does not know the power that lies in your persistence, in your resilience, in the moments when you rise despite every reason to stay down. And oh, how powerful you are when you refuse to let doubt win. How unstoppable you become when you recognize that hesitation is not proof of your inadequacy, but an invitation to trust yourself more deeply. Because you, my dear, are worthy not when you are perfect, not when you have all the answers, not when the world finally sees your value, but right now as you are in this moment. So the next time doubt comes knocking, do not invite it in. Do not set the table for it. Do not offer it a chair. Let it stand outside in the cold while you step boldly into your destiny. Let it watch as you move forward, as you speak up, as you claim your space. And when it tries again, you simply smile and say, not today. There will be times when you walk into a room and feel the weight of 1,000 eyes measuring you, sizing you up, trying to decide if you belong. There will be moments when the world seems to whisper, not yet, not here, not you. And you will be tempted to shrink, to step back, to make yourself small enough to fit inside the narrow space they have left for you. But listen to me, walk like you belong, even before the world believes you do. Confidence is not about waiting for permission. It is not about waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, the applause of the crowd. Confidence is stepping forward before the world is ready, before the path is clear, before you have every answer. It is standing tall even when doubt sits heavy on your shoulders. It is walking into every space as if your name is already written on the walls. But I know it is not easy. It is not easy to walk into unfamiliar places, to stand in rooms where you feel like an outsider, to speak when your voice feels too soft, too unsure, too out of place. It is not easy to claim space in a world that sometimes seems determined to overlook you. But hear me now, you are not an outsider to your own life. You are not a guest in your own story. You do not need to wait for an invitation to take up space in the world. You are already worthy of being here. You may be tempted to hesitate, to hold back, to wait for the world to confirm what you already know deep inside, that you are strong enough, capable enough, deserving enough. But let me tell you something, the world will not always hand you validation. The world will not always open its arms and welcome you in. Sometimes you must walk in anyway. Sometimes you must decide that you belong even when no one says it out loud. Because belonging is not about who lets you in, it is about how you carry yourself. It is about knowing that your dreams are just important, your voice just as valuable, your presence just as necessary as anyone else's. It is about refusing to let uncertainty steal your seat at the table. And if they do not make space for you, if they question your right to be there, you do not ask for permission to exist. You do not apologize for showing up. You do not shrink yourself to make others comfortable. No, my dear, you straighten your spine, you lift your chin, and you walk like you belong because you do. The truth is, people will believe in you when they see you believe in yourself. They will respect you when they see that you respect yourself. They will make room for you when they realize you will not disappear simply because they doubt you. So stand firm, speak with purpose, move through the world as if you have every right to be here because you do. And when the day comes that someone else is standing where you once stood, feeling small, feeling unsure, wondering if they belong, show them. Show them with your presence, your courage, your certainty. Show them that they too have the right to take up space. And together you will walk forward, not waiting for permission, but claiming the ground beneath your feet. Failure has a way of making itself feel final. It arrives like a storm, unexpected and unforgiving, washing away every bit of confidence you had built. It whispers that you were foolish to try, that you should have known better, that you were never meant to succeed in the first place. And for a moment, maybe even longer, you believe it. You sit with the weight of disappointment, the sting of mistakes, the fear that maybe this is where your journey ends. But listen to me now, failure is not the enemy. Staying down is, because failure will happen. Oh, it will come knocking again, testing your will, pushing against your spirit, waiting to see if you will let it define you. It is not a question of if you will fail, but when. And when you do, what will you do next? Will you let the weight of it bury you? Will you let the embarrassment of falling keep you from ever rising again? Or will you stand? Will you shake the dust from your hands, lift your chin, and decide that this failure, this one right here, is not the end of your story? Because that is the choice. That is always the choice, to stay down or to rise. And my dear, you must rise, not because it is easy, not because you do not feel the sting of falling, but because every time you stand again, you prove to yourself that failure does not own you. You prove that your strength is not measured by how often you win, but by how often you refuse to quit. And let me tell you something, those who succeed are not the ones who never failed. They are the ones who failed and kept going. The ones who took the lessons, the pain, the disappointment, and turned them into stepping stones instead of walls. The ones who understood that every failure is just another step towards success, another chapter in the story, another test of resilience. So do not fear failure. Do not let it convince you that you are unworthy, that you are not good enough, that your dreams are too big. Instead, let it teach you. Let it remind you that you are still here, still fighting, still becoming. And the next time you fall, and you will remember this, the only true failure is staying down. So rise and rise again. There will be days when the world feels too heavy, when the voices of doubt and fear grow louder than your own. Days when the road ahead looks too long, too uncertain, too full of obstacles you are not sure you can overcome. And in those moments, you will be tempted to turn back, to abandon the dreams that once set your soul on fire, to settle for something smaller, something safer, something that does not ask so much of you. But listen to me, keep going, because the road to greatness is never easy. It will test you. It will demand more than you think you have. It will ask for your patience, your persistence, your willingness to keep moving forward, even when progress feels invisible. But you must not stop. You must not let the difficulty of the journey convince you that the destination is not worth it. You see, Every step you take, no matter how small, is a step forward. Every moment you choose to push through the doubt, to rise after failure, to trust yourself even when no one else does, those moments matter. They build you. They prepare you. They shape you into the person who is ready for the success that is waiting for you. But it is easy to forget that when the struggle is all you can see, it is easy to believe that progress should always feel obvious, that growth should always be visible. But growth is often silent. Change happens in the moments when you do not even realize it. Strength is built in the days when you want to quit but don't. And I know it is hard. It is hard to keep moving when the weight of uncertainty sits heavy on your shoulders. It is hard to believe in yourself when the results have not yet arrived. But this is exactly where most people stop. This is the moment when most give up. And this is why you must keep going. Because the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, not luck, not even opportunity, it is perseverance. It is the willingness to keep moving when everything inside you wants to stop. And when you finally reach that moment, the moment when everything you have worked for becomes real, when the doors you once thought were closed swing open, when you realize that every struggle, every setback, every doubt was worth it, you will be grateful you did not give up. You will stand in the place you once only dreamed of and know that you are there because you refuse to quit. So do not stop. Not today. Not tomorrow, not ever. Keep going, even when it is hard, even at thought, even when you are the only one who believes in the journey. Keep going because you are closer than you think. And so here we are, at the edge of every doubt you have ever had, at the crossroads between fear and courage, hesitation and action, silence and strength. You have walked through the weight of uncertainty, stood in the face of failure, and dared to believe in yourself even when the world told you otherwise. And now, the choice is yours. Will you stand tall in your confidence? Will you walk like you belong, even before the world believes you do? Will you speak your truth, rise after every fall, and keep going no matter how long the road ahead may seem? Because that is where greatness is found, not in perfection, not in ease, but in the relentless refusal to give up. So go forward with your head high, your spirit steady, and your self-belief unshaken. Walk boldly into every room, knowing that you are worthy. Speak with conviction, knowing that your voice matters. And when fear comes knocking, smile and say, not today. Good luck on your journey. May you rise again and again. And may the world see the brilliance that has always been inside you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My dear ones, listen to me now. Life is a storm sometimes, rolling in dark and heavy, blocking out the sun. We all know something about the clouds, don't we? We've felt them press against our hearts, seen them gather over our dreams. Some days they bring nothing but sorrow. Some days they settle deep in our bones. But let me tell you this, storms do not last always. And even in the thickest clouds, even when the sky forgets its blue, there is something bright waiting to break through. A rainbow, a light, a kindness that reminds us we are not alone. You see, we do not always get to choose the weight of the clouds, but we do get to choose what we become in them. And I say, choose to be a rainbow. Choose to shine, choose to lift. Choose to bring color where there was only gray. My dear ones, listen closely. The world can be heavy and life can be unkind. There are days when the weight of it all sits so deep in our spirit that we forget what warmth feels like. We've all known sorrow. We've all felt the sting of loneliness. And we've all had moments when we wondered if we mattered at all. But let me tell you something. Kindness has the power to shift that weight, to soften the edges of a rough world, to bring light where there is only shadow. And the best part? It doesn't cost a thing. A kind word, a gentle hand, a moment of understanding. These things are free. but their worth is beyond measure. You see, kindness is not about grand gestures or making headlines. It is about the small, quiet ways we remind each other that we are not alone. It is in the way we greet a stranger with a smile, the way we listen when someone needs to be heard, the way we show up when the world has turned away. You may not always see the impact of your kindness. You may never know how deeply your words settle in someone's heart. But I promise you, even the simplest act of compassion can plant a seed of hope in a weary soul. There is a man walking the streets tonight searching for a reason to keep going. There is a child sitting in silence, believing they are invisible. There is a woman holding back tears, praying for just one sign that she is not forgotten. And you, yes, you have the power to be that sign. You have the power to remind them that goodness is still here, that love still exists, that they still matter. The world will tell you that kindness is weakness, that soft hearts get broken, that you must build walls to protect yourself. But I tell you this, kindness is strength. It takes courage to be gentle in a world that can be cruel. It takes bravery to open your heart when others have closed theirs. It takes wisdom to choose love over indifference. Do not let this world harden you. Do not let bitterness take root where love should grow. Instead, be the person who chooses to uplift, to encourage, to brighten someone's day. It doesn't take much. A simple "I see you," a genuine "I believe in you," a warm "you are not alone." These words, though small, can be the difference between despair and hope. And do not think for one moment that kindness is only meant for strangers. The ones closest to us, the ones we walk beside every day, they too need our gentleness. A friend who has been silent for too long, a family member who hides their struggles, a colleague who always smiles but never shares, these people too need to be reminded that they are valued, that they are loved. When you choose kindness, you choose to be a light. And what a beautiful thing it is to be a light in someone's clouded sky. What a gift it is to be the reason someone's burden feels just a little lighter, the reason someone's heart beats with just a little more hope. So go on now, walk with kindness in your hands and love in your heart. Let your words heal, let your presence uplift, let your soul shine. Because one day when your own sky is dark, when the clouds gather above you, someone else's kindness will find you. And in that moment, you will know you were never alone. Life is full of storms. Some roll in without warning, darkening our skies, shaking the ground beneath us and leaving us wondering if the light will ever return. We have all known those storms, the heartbreaks that steal our breath, the losses that leave us empty, the struggles that make us question our own strength. And in those moments when the clouds are thick and the rain won't stop falling, all we need is a light, a single spark of hope, a reason to believe that tomorrow will come with warmth again. Now, my loves, that light does not have to come in the form of something grand. No, it is often the smallest flicker that keeps the darkness from swallowing us whole. A kind word at the right time, a gentle touch when the world feels rough, a simple reminder that we are seen. It does not take much, but it means everything. And here is the truth. You have the power to be that light. You have the power to be the hope in someone's night. Think about it. You do not know what battles the people around you are fighting. You do not see the weight they carry in their hearts, the silent prayers they whisper in the dark, the tears they wipe away when no one is looking. That man who seems strong may be breaking inside. That woman who always smiles may be carrying a sorrow too deep to speak of. That child who sits quietly in the corner may be wondering if they even matter. And you, just by being you, just by offering a moment of kindness, can remind them that they are not alone. It is not about fixing their pain. It is not about having all the answers. It is about showing up, about standing beside them in their storm, about holding up a light when they cannot find their own. Maybe it's a simple, "I'm here for you." Maybe it's listening when they need to be heard. Maybe it's choosing to see them when the world has looked away. Whatever it is, it matters. Do not think for one moment that your presence is too small to make a difference. A single candle may not chase away the night, but it can guide someone home. A single ray of sun may not clear the sky, but it can remind someone that the clouds will pass. You do not need to be mighty to be meaningful. You only need to be willing. This world will tell you to focus on yourself, to guard your heart, to keep moving forward without stopping for others. But I tell you this, real strength is in lifting someone else. Real love is in choosing to care, even when you have your own burdens to carry. And real beauty is in being the light that helps another soul find their way. One day, when your own sky is heavy and the road feels too long, you will remember the kindness you gave. You will remember the times you held someone up when they could not stand alone. And in that moment, when the night feels too deep, someone else's light will find you. Because love always comes back, hope always finds a way, and kindness never fades into nothing. So go on, my dear ones, and shine. Be the reason someone does not give up today. Be the proof that goodness still exists. Be the light in the storm, the warmth in the cold, the hope in the night. Because one small spark can change a life. One single light can break through the darkest cloud, and you, yes, you can be that light. My dear ones, life has a way of moving in circles. What we give, we receive. What we plant, we grow. And the kindness we show today may not return in the way we expect, but it will return. A single act of compassion, no matter how small, does not disappear. It lingers, it spreads, it takes root in places we may never see. And long after we have moved on, long after we have forgotten the moment, it may still be blooming in someone else's life. You see, love is not meant to be hoarded. Kindness is not meant to be rationed. When we open our hearts to others, when we extend a hand instead of turning away, we set something powerful in motion. We create a ripple, one that moves beyond us, touching lives we may never know, shaping futures in ways we cannot imagine. That is the beauty of compassion. It does not stay where we leave it. It moves, it grows, it continues. Think about the kindnesses that have shaped you. The teacher who saw something in you when you doubted yourself. The stranger who offered a smile when you needed it most. The friend who stayed when the world felt too heavy. Maybe they do not remember those moments, but you do. Maybe to them it was just another day, just another word, just another gesture. But to you it was a lifeline, a reminder that you mattered, a reason to keep going. Now imagine this. You have that same power. You may never know what your kindness means to someone else. You may never see how far it travels, but trust me, it goes further than you think. The child you encourage today may grow up believing in themselves because of you. The person you comfort may one day comfort someone else in the same way. The love you give may be passed down from one heart to another, from one generation to the next. This is why we must choose love again and again, even when the world feels cold. Because love is the only thing that truly lasts. Anger fades, fear dissolves. Even pain, as heavy as it is, changes shape over time. But love carries on. It moves beyond our years, beyond our hands, beyond our own understanding. It reaches into the future and shapes it for the better. Do not underestimate the power of a single moment. A kind word spoken today could be remembered for a lifetime. A gesture of understanding could be the reason someone finds strength to move forward. A bit of light offered now could be carried by another, passed down like a torch, illuminating the path for those who come after us. This is how we change the world. Not always through grand actions, not always through great works, but through small, simple choices made with love. Every time you lift someone up, every time you remind them they are not alone, every time you show up with an open heart, you are building something greater than yourself. So do not hold back. Do not let the hardness of the world make you hesitant to give. What you do in kindness today will not end with you. It will live on in ways you cannot see, in lives you cannot predict, in hearts that will carry it forward. And one day, long after you have forgotten the kindness you gave, it will return to you in ways you never expected. Go on now, be love, be light. Be the ripple that turns into a wave, the spark that sets hearts aglow. Because no act of kindness is ever wasted, and no love given is ever lost. The world will tell you that strength is measured in how much you can carry, how long you can endure, how well you can stand alone. But let me tell you something truer than that. Real strength is not just about how much weight you can bear. It is about how many people you can lift while you're standing. It is about reaching back, reaching down, reaching across, and choosing to help someone rise when they cannot do it on their own. Life is heavy, and we all know the burden of it. We have all carried the weight of disappointment, of heartbreak, of loss. We have all felt days where our steps felt too slow, our shoulders too weak, our spirit too tired to move forward. And in those moments when everything seemed too much, what saved us, it wasn't just our own strength. No, it was the kindness of someone else. It was the friend who reminded us we weren't alone. It was the hand that reached for us when we were sinking. It was the voice that whispered, "You can do this," when we had forgotten how to believe it for ourselves. And now, my dear ones, it is your turn to be that for someone else. It is your turn to be the reason someone does not give up. Your turn to remind someone of their own strength when they have forgotten it. Your turn to carry, to uplift, to lighten the load of another. Because true power is not found in standing above others. It is found in bending down to help them stand with you. Do not be fooled into thinking that lifting others takes something away from you. Oh no, my dear ones, that is not how love works. Love does not diminish, it multiplies. Encouragement does not deplete, it expands. When you help someone rise, you do not fall, you rise with them. When you make space for someone to shine, your own light does not dim, it only grows. And let me tell you something else. You do not have to be perfect to help someone else. You do not have to have it all figured out. You do not have to be without struggles of your own. Sometimes the best ones to lift others are the ones who know what it feels like to fall. The ones who have walked through the storm and understand the weight of the rain. The ones who have felt broken but chose to keep going anyway. You, just as you are right here, right now, are enough to make a difference in someone's life. Maybe today it is a word of encouragement to someone who feels unseen. Maybe it is a listening ear to a heart that is hurting. Maybe it is reminding a friend that they are stronger than their circumstances. Whatever it is, do it. Speak it. Share it. Because this world does not need more competition, more division, more coldness. No, my dear ones, this world needs more people willing to lift each other up instead of pushing each other down. And I promise you this. One day when you need it most, when your own heart is heavy and your own spirit is tired, someone else's strength will find you. Someone else will reach for you just as you have reached for others, because love moves in circles. Kindness comes back around, and the strength we give is never truly lost. It is only waiting to return to us when we need it most. So go on now. Be the reason someone stands a little taller today. Be the reminder that no one has to walk alone. Be the strength that turns a broken moment into a hopeful one. Because in the end, we do not rise by standing alone. We rise by lifting each other. My dear ones, there are moments in life when the sky is so thick with clouds that we wonder if the sun will ever shine again. Darkness settles in, pressing against the soul, making it hard to see beyond the weight of the moment. And in those times, when the world feels too heavy and hope seems distant, what do we search for? We search for a light, a sign, a reminder that we are not lost. Now, let me tell you something important. You do not need to be the sun to bring warmth to someone's life. You do not need to be a blazing fire to bring comfort. No, my dear ones, Even the smallest spark can break through the deepest darkness. Even the tiniest bit of light can remind someone that the night will not last forever. There are people walking among us right now carrying burdens we cannot see. A man who wears a smile but hides his loneliness. A woman who carries the weight of the world on her shoulders but never speaks of it. A child who has begun to believe they are invisible. And sometimes, all it takes to change the course of their day, to shift the weight of their pain, is a simple act of kindness. It could be a word spoken gently at just the right time. It could be a moment of understanding, a look that says, I see you, you are not alone. It could be an act so small that you do not even think twice about it, but to them it is everything. Because when the darkness feels endless, even the smallest glimmer of light is enough to remind us that morning will come. Do not underestimate what you can offer. Do not think that your kindness is too small, your love too quiet, your presence too insignificant to make a difference. The candle does not ask if it is bright enough before it begins to glow. It simply shines. And you, my dear ones, were made to shine. You were made to be a light in someone's storm, a hand to hold in the middle of the night, a voice that says, keep going when the road feels too long. And here is the beautiful part. The light you give does not only brighten someone else's path, it brightens your own. When you choose to lift others, when you choose to share warmth, when you choose to be the one who brings color to a gray sky, you will find that your own heart becomes lighter. Love given is never love lost. Kindness shared is never kindness wasted. One day you will need a light. One day the sky above you will darken and you will find yourself searching for a sign, a voice, a reminder that you are not alone. And when that day comes, you will see somewhere in the distance, in a place you least expect, a spark will find you. Because the kindness you give, the love you share, the light you offer, it all comes back. It moves forward, it reaches beyond you, it finds its way into the hearts of those who will one day carry it forward for someone else. So go on now, be the spark. Be the small light that reminds someone that the darkness will not win. Be the quiet strength that helps someone believe in tomorrow. Because even the smallest spark is enough to break through the thickest clouds. Even the gentlest light is enough to change a life. Love is the one thing in this world that never fades, never weakens, never truly disappears. It moves, it grows, it finds its way back to us in ways we may never expect. And the love you give, oh my dear ones, it does not go unnoticed. It does not go uncounted. It does not go unreturned. Sometimes we wonder if our kindness matters. We wonder if the care we pour into others is seen, if the love we share is felt, if the effort we put into making this world softer is worth it. Because there will be days when it seems like love is given freely but never received in return. There will be moments when you give, and yet the world seems too busy, too indifferent, too cold to give back. But let me tell you something truer than the air you breathe. Love never vanishes. It may not always return from the direction you expect. It may not always come back in the time you wish, but it always finds its way back to you. Think of the kindness you have received in your life. The moments when someone's love met you right when you needed it most. Maybe it was a friend who stood by you when the world turned away. Maybe it was a stranger whose simple act of generosity reminded you that goodness still exists. Maybe it was a word, a touch, a presence that wrapped around your heart and made you believe again. Those moments, they were not accidents. They were not coincidences. They were love finding its way back to you. Love you had given at some point in some way without even realizing it. Because that is how love works. It does not follow a straight path. It does not move in predictable lines. It weaves, it circles, it returns when you least expect it but need it the most. And when you live with love, when you choose to be kind, when you choose to be compassionate, when you choose to give without expecting anything in return, you set something powerful in motion. You create a world where love moves freely, where kindness multiplies, where people are reminded that they matter. You become a part of something bigger than yourself, something that reaches beyond your days, beyond your hands, beyond your own understanding. And the love you give, it does not stop with the one who receives it. No, my dear ones, it is carried forward. It is passed on from heart to heart, from life to life, from one generation to the next. Maybe today your kindness will inspire someone else to do the same. Maybe the love you show will remind someone that they too are capable of loving. Maybe the warmth you give will be carried by another, given to someone who needs it even more. And maybe years from now, in a place you have never been, in a moment you will never see, your love will still be alive, still moving, still changing lives. So do not hold back. Do not let the hardness of the world make you hesitant to give. Do not believe for a second that love is wasted just because it is not immediately returned. The love you give is never lost. It is only waiting, moving, growing, making its way back to you in a form more beautiful than you could ever imagine. Go on now, give freely, love without hesitation. Let kindness be your legacy, because in the end, what we give is what we receive. And the love we share is the love that will find its way home to us again. My dear ones, life is not measured in years, nor in the wealth we gather, nor in the titles we hold. No, life is measured in the hearts we touch, in the love we give, in the light we bring to others. Because when all is said and done, when the years have passed and time has taken its toll, what will remain? Not the things we owned, not the status we chased, but the impact we left in the lives of those around us. Each day we are given an opportunity to make the world just a little bit better, a little bit softer, a little bit kinder. An opportunity to be more than just a passing presence in someone's life, to be a source of warmth, of comfort, of hope. And my dear ones, that is the greatest gift we can ever give. Think of the people who have shaped you, the ones who left footprints on your heart. Maybe it was a teacher who saw something in you that you didn't yet see in yourself. Maybe it was a friend who stayed when the world felt too heavy. Maybe it was a stranger whose kindness reminded you that you mattered. They may not even know how much their presence meant to you. They may have long forgotten the moment that you still carry, but that is the beauty of love. It lingers, it stays, it lives on in ways we cannot always see. Now, my dear ones, it is your turn. It is your turn to be the one who leaves a mark, your turn to be the one who makes a difference. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not think you need to be more. Do not believe that your kindness is too small to matter, because every word spoken with love, every act done with care, every hand extended in compassion creates a ripple that moves beyond you, beyond today, beyond what you will ever know. And let me tell you something, love is not about grand gestures. It is not about making the biggest impact in the loudest way. No, love is in the little things. It is in the patience you show when someone is struggling. It is in the way you listen, truly listen, when someone needs to be heard. It is in the simple acts of grace, the gentle reminders that someone is not alone, the quiet moments where you choose to be present. This is how we create a legacy, not through power, not through fame, but through love. Because love does not fade, it does not wear out, it does not disappear. When you pour love into the world, when you touch someone's heart, that love continues. It moves from one person to the next, stretching far beyond what your eyes can see, lasting long after you are gone. One day, my dear ones, when your journey has come to its end, what will matter most is not what you took from the world, but what you gave to it. Not the things you held in your hands, but the love you left in the hearts of others. And when that time comes, may you look back and know, truly know, that you gave all the love you could, that you lifted as many as you could, that you made this world a little gentler, a little kinder, a little more beautiful because you were in it. Go on now and live with love. Give freely, touch hearts, leave warmth wherever you go, because in the end, love is the only thing that remains. My dear ones, as we stand at the close of this journey we have taken together, let us remember this. Life is not about how much we take, but how much we give. It is not about walking alone, but about lifting each other along the way. It is about being a light in someone's darkness, a hand in someone's struggle, a voice of hope when the world feels silent. Every kindness you offer, every love you share, every moment you choose to uplift another, it all matters. It moves forward, it carries on, it shapes lives in ways you may never see. And one day, when you look back, may you know that you lived not just for yourself, but for others. That you made this world a little brighter, a little softer, a little kinder, simply by being in it. So go on now, my dear ones, and be the rainbow in someone's cloud. Be the spark, be the warmth, be the love that lingers long after you have gone. And as you give, as you shine, as you spread light wherever you go, know that the love you send into the world will always find its way back to you. Good luck on your journey, and may your days be filled with love, kindness, and purpose. Thank you, my dear ones, for listening, for believing, and for choosing to be the difference this world so desperately needs. My friends, let me begin with a question. How long have you carried the heavy bag of guilt on your shoulders, believing that you must always give more than you have, believing that you must always say yes, even when your soul is crying no? That bag is not your inheritance. That weight is not your destiny. You were not born to live bent down under shame. You were born to stand tall and radiant. There is a quiet lie that follows many of us. It whispers that if we choose ourselves, we are selfish. It tells us that if we say no to what breaks us, we are unkind. But I came here to remind you that you are allowed to choose you. Your breath matters, your rest matters. Your dreams are not foolish, they are the music written in the very rhythm of your being. Guilt has been taught to us like a lesson repeated again and again. We were told to put others first until we forgot there was even a self to honor. But I tell you today, unlearn that lesson. Step away from the old classroom where guilt was the teacher. You can walk into a new place where love speaks louder. Love for others, yes, but also love for yourself. Because the truth is, no one can drink from an empty cup. No one can shine while hidden under a shadow of constant apology. You are not selfish for caring for your spirit. You are not cold for protecting your peace. You are not weak for saying no. When you choose yourself, you are giving the world a fuller, brighter version of who you are. That choice is not just for you, it is for everyone who will be blessed by your whole self and not just your fragments. There will be voices that question you. They will tell you that you owe the world more than you owe your own soul. But remember this, you were not placed on this earth to crawl in the dust of guilt. You were placed here to rise with grace. You were placed here to laugh freely, to walk boldly, to speak truth without trembling. So when you feel guilt trying to chain you again, breathe deep and remember your worth. Lift your head. Say to yourself, I am allowed to choose me. Say it until the chains fall. Say it until your heart believes it. Say it until your steps move lighter and your days glow with joy. My dear friends, there is a voice in the world that often tells us to give until there is nothing left. It tells us that our value comes only from how much we sacrifice and how much we pour out for others. It whispers that if we dare to choose ourselves first, we are selfish, but the truth is deeper and older than that whisper. The truth is this: choosing yourself is not selfish, it is sacred. It is a holy act. It is a declaration that you were made with intention and purpose and that your life deserves honor too. Think about the way we are taught from childhood. We are told to share our toys even when we do not want to. We are told to say yes to requests even when they make us uncomfortable. Slowly, we begin to learn that to be good, we must always put ourselves second. We grow up carrying this belief that our worth is tied to how much we give away. And so we give and we give until one day we realize we have given away the very core of who we are. The light inside us has dimmed, and still the world asks for more. But there comes a moment when your spirit whispers enough. It is not loud at first. It might come when you are tired beyond words, and you wonder why no one seems to see your exhaustion. It might come when you find yourself saying yes, but every part of you is screaming no. That whisper is the call to come home to yourself. That whisper is the reminder that choosing yourself is not betrayal, it is belonging. You belong to yourself before you belong to anyone else. When you choose yourself, you are not abandoning others. You are simply making sure that you are whole enough to show up with love instead of resentment, with strength instead of depletion. A dry well cannot quench the thirst of others. A weary heart cannot give joy. Choosing yourself is the act of filling your well, of restoring your heart so that what you offer the world is real and alive. That is sacred. There will be people who do not understand. They may call you selfish because they have grown used to your endless giving. They may resist because your boundaries are new to them. But do not let their discomfort make you doubt your truth. The sacredness of choosing yourself is not for them to approve, it is for you to live. And in time, those who truly love you will see that your strength and your joy flow brighter when you honor yourself first. Choosing yourself does not mean you turn your back on kindness. It does not mean you close your hands and heart. It means you give from a place of abundance rather than emptiness. It means you understand that love includes you too. You cannot call it love if it requires your silence, your exhaustion, your constant apology. Love is not meant to drain, it is meant to renew. And that renewal begins when you decide that your needs are not secondary, but sacred. When you begin to live this way, you will notice changes. The guilt that once wrapped around your chest will start to loosen. You will stand a little taller. Your no will carry peace instead of fear. Your yes will carry joy instead of pressure. And slowly you will come to see that choosing yourself is not an act against anyone, it is an act for everyone, because the best of you can only emerge when you are cared for. So I say to you today, do not be afraid of the sacred choice. Do not shrink from your own worth. Lay aside the old teaching that called you selfish for honoring your needs. Step into the truth that you are a living soul deserving of care, respect, and rest. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is sacred. It is the foundation upon which all other love can stand. And when you live from that place, the world will know a truer, brighter you. Guilt is one of the first languages many of us were taught. We learned it before we learned how to love ourselves. We learned it when someone told us we were wrong to want more. We learned it when we were punished for saying no. We learned it when we were made to believe that our joy had to be smaller so someone else could feel bigger. But let me tell you this, guilt is not the truth of who you are. Guilt is a learned weight, and like anything learned, it can be unlearned. Think for a moment about the way guilt shows up. It comes quietly but firmly. You take a moment for yourself, and there it is telling you that you are neglecting others. You rest for a day, and guilt whispers that you are lazy. You speak your truth, and guilt hisses that you are being too much. It follows you like a shadow, and you carry it without questioning. But the shadow does not belong to you. It was given to you by a world that wanted you to shrink so you could fit its narrow mold. We live in a society that praises overwork, endless giving, and quiet suffering. We are told that the noble life is the life of constant sacrifice. And in that teaching, guilt becomes a tool to keep us silent and obedient. But you were not born for silence. You were not born to be bent under shame. You were born for light, for laughter, for freedom. And freedom begins with the unlearning of guilt. Unlearning is not easy. It means challenging every story that was handed to you. It means asking yourself, whose voice is this in my head telling me I do not deserve to rest? Whose words are these saying I must give until I am empty? And when you trace those voices back, you will find they are not yours. They may belong to parents, teachers, friends, or traditions that never knew a different way. And once you see that those voices were planted in you, you gain the power to uproot them. Unlearning guilt is choosing to walk lighter. It is choosing to say, I do not need to apologize for existing. I do not need to feel bad for taking care of myself. I do not need to explain why I protect my peace. It is recognizing that guilt is not the guardian of goodness. Love is. And when you live in love, guilt becomes unnecessary, because love will guide you to care for others without abandoning yourself. You see, guilt drains you, but love sustains you. Guilt shames you, but love strengthens you. Guilt silences you, but love frees you. And when you begin to unlearn guilt, you begin to live not out of fear, but out of fullness. That fullness is what the world needs from you. Do not mistake unlearning guilt as becoming careless. It is not about ignoring responsibility or abandoning compassion. It is about understanding that guilt has no rightful place in guiding your life. Responsibility can stand without guilt. Compassion can thrive without guilt. In fact, they thrive better without it because they are no longer poisoned by shame. So each time you feel guilt rising in your chest, pause. Ask yourself, is this voice rooted in love or in fear? If it is fear, breathe and release it. If it is love, follow it. This practice, repeated again and again, is how you slowly unlearn the old lessons. You may stumble. You may feel the weight creep back in. But every time you choose love over guilt, you are teaching your soul a new language. And over time, you will notice the change. You will laugh without apology. You will rest without shame. You will say no without trembling. You will say yes without resentment. You will no longer live inside the shadow of guilt. You will live in the light of freedom. So remember, guilt was taught to you, but you are free to unlearn it. You are not bound to carry that weight forever. Let it fall from your shoulders. Stand tall in the truth that love guides better than guilt ever could. There is a deep strength in learning to say no. It is a word that many of us have been taught to fear. We avoid it because we are told it will disappoint someone or make us appear cold. We swallow it because we are told it will close doors or make us unloved. Yet the truth is simple and undeniable. Saying no to what breaks you is saying yes to your wholeness. And wholeness is what your life is meant to carry. How many times have you felt the quiet ache of agreeing to something you did not want? You smiled while your heart sank. You nodded while your spirit grew weary. You told yourself it was just easier to go along. But each time you did that, a piece of your wholeness was traded for temporary peace. Each time your yes was given out of fear, your soul whispered its own no, and that whisper grew louder inside you. We must begin to see no not as rejection, but as protection. It is a boundary that says my life has value, my energy has worth, my heart deserves care. When you say no to what breaks you, you are not turning away from love, you are turning toward truth. You are refusing to allow yourself to be divided between what you give to others and what you save for yourself. The world has convinced many of us that goodness means compliance, that to be kind we must always agree. But kindness without honesty is not kindness at all. Agreeing when your spirit is breaking is not noble, it is dangerous. Because over time you lose sight of who you are. You become a shadow of yourself. And the world does not need more shadows. The world needs your light. Think of the power of the tree standing tall in the storm. It bends, but it does not break. It knows its roots are deep and its branches strong. That is what your no can be. It is not an act of aggression, it is the rootedness of self-respect. It is the awareness that you cannot pour from a broken vessel. You cannot keep saying yes to what harms you and still remain whole. There is beauty in choice. Every no you speak with courage is a yes to something greater. When you say no to the toxic relationship, you are saying yes to your peace. When you say no to the endless demands that steal your rest, you are saying yes to your health. When you say no to the voice of guilt, you are saying yes to freedom. No is not emptiness, it is redirection. It clears space for joy to walk in. Do not fear the disapproval of others. Some will not understand your no because they benefited from your silence. Some will question your change because they liked your compliance. But your life is not a stage built to please an audience. Your life is a home built to shelter your spirit. You are the caretaker of that home, and you have the right to protect it. Saying no to what breaks you requires courage, but it also creates healing. You will feel the shift when you begin to honor it. Your body will breathe easier. Your heart will beat lighter. You will start to hear your own voice more clearly. And with every step, you will realize that wholeness is not found in endless yeses, but in the balance of knowing when to say no. This is the lesson that unlearning guilt gives us. Guilt tells you to give until you collapse. Love tells you to stand whole and give from strength. Choosing no when you need to is not the end of your kindness, it is the beginning of your authenticity. And authenticity is the highest form of love you can ever offer. So do not shrink from that word. Speak it with clarity. Let it guard your peace. Let it protect your soul. Because saying no to what breaks you is saying yes to your wholeness, and your wholeness is the greatest gift you can bring to this world. From the time we are small, we are taught the art of apology. We are told to say sorry when we bump into someone, when we speak too loudly, when we want something for ourselves. Slowly the word begins to weave itself into our spirit until it becomes less of a courtesy and more of a habit. We find ourselves apologizing for our laughter, for our opinions, for our tears, even for our very existence. But hear this clearly. You are not born to live under apology. You are born to rise in truth. Your life is not an accident that must constantly seek forgiveness. Your life is a gift meant to stand with dignity. When you live under apology, guilt becomes your constant companion. You start to measure your worth by how little you disturb others. You try to shrink so that no one is inconvenienced by your presence. You carry shame for needing help, for asking questions, for wanting more. That is not living. That is surviving inside a cage built by fear. And fear is no home for a soul that was created to be free. To rise in truth means to stand without the weight of constant sorry. It means to live knowing that your breath does not require permission. It means to walk into rooms without the need to explain why you belong there. It means to speak your heart without folding it into silence just to keep others comfortable. Rising in truth is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is standing tall in the understanding that your existence itself carries worth. Think of how many times you have swallowed your truth because you feared judgment. Think of how many dreams you pushed aside because you thought you owed the world your silence. Every time you bowed to guilt, a part of your truth was buried. But the buried truth never disappears. It waits. It presses against the walls of your being. It aches to be seen. And one day it calls you to rise. That call is not something to fear. That call is your soul remembering itself. Living under apology keeps you small. Rising in truth lets you breathe. When you rise in truth, your no is steady, your yes is clear, your steps are strong. You begin to notice how light the world feels when you are no longer dragging the chains of guilt. You begin to see how much brighter life looks when you no longer apologize for your light. And here is the miracle: when you rise in truth, you give others permission to rise as well. Your courage plants courage in them. Your freedom whispers to them that they too can be free. There will be those who do not understand. They may accuse you of being unkind because you no longer bend to every request. They may say you have changed because you no longer silence your truth. Let them say what they will. The truth is, you are not the same. You are stronger, clearer, freer. You are no longer living under apology. You are living in the fullness of who you are meant to be. And do not mistake rising in truth for perfection. It does not mean you will never falter or make mistakes. It does not mean you will never say sorry again. But when you apologize, it will not be from shame. It will be from integrity. It will not be the reflex of guilt. It will be the choice of love. That is the difference between living under apology and rising in truth. One diminishes you, the other strengthens you. So my friends, hear this and hold it close. You were never born to walk bent under shame. You were never born to whisper apologies for your existence. You were born to rise, to shine, to live in truth without trembling. Step into that truth. Claim that freedom. And let the world see the beauty of a soul unafraid to stand tall. There is a quiet and powerful act that many of us have overlooked because we were taught to value everyone else before ourselves. That act is protecting our peace. For too long, peace has been treated as something optional, something extra, something we are allowed to consider only after everyone else is satisfied. But the truth is clear. Protecting your peace is an act of love, not neglect. It is not selfishness, it is wisdom. It is not abandonment, it is alignment. Think of what happens when peace is missing. Your mind becomes restless, your body grows weary, your spirit feels torn. You may still show up for people. You may still speak the right words and perform the right duties. But inside there is no calm, no stillness, no clarity. Without peace, your smile is fragile and your love becomes forced. Without peace, you lose the strength to carry even yourself. That is why protecting peace is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of grounding in the middle of them. It is the inner stillness that says, I may not control everything, but I can choose what I allow into my spirit. And protecting that stillness means learning to guard your time, your energy, and your heart from whatever threatens to consume them. This is love in its highest form because it allows you to show up as your fullest self instead of a fractured one. For many of us, the idea of protecting peace feels uncomfortable. We are used to giving without limit, to saying yes out of guilt, to stretching ourselves thin just to keep others happy. And so when we begin to draw boundaries, when we begin to say no, when we begin to step back and rest, guilt rises like a storm inside us. But remember, guilt is a learned weight. And when you unlearn it, you begin to see that protecting your peace is not neglecting anyone else. It is ensuring that you have something real and whole to give. Love that costs you your peace is not love. Work that costs you your peace is not purpose. Friendship that costs you your peace is not true connection. Anything that constantly strips you of calm and leaves you drained is not aligned with your growth. Protecting your peace means having the courage to acknowledge this truth. It means recognizing that your inner calm is sacred and not everyone or everything has earned the right to touch it. Some will not understand this. They will say you are distant or cold or unwilling. They will question why you are no longer as available as you once were. Do not let their misunderstanding drag you back into guilt. The reality is they may have grown used to your exhaustion. They may have benefited from your lack of boundaries. But your peace is not up for trade. Your spirit is not for sale. Protecting your peace does not harm them. It heals you. And when you are healed, when you are whole, you bring more honesty, more love, and more strength to every relationship you hold. There is great beauty in choosing peace. It is the soft refusal to let chaos rule your days. It is the steady reminder that your worth is not measured by how much noise you can endure, but by how fully you can stand in your truth. Peace does not mean escape. Peace does not mean weakness. Peace is the quiet power that allows you to rise above what seeks to break you. It is the foundation on which joy can be built and the soil where love can grow. So let the world rush, let it demand, let it press, and when it does, pause, breathe. Guard your peace as you would guard your most precious treasure, because in truth it is. Without it you are scattered, but with it you are whole. Protecting your peace is not neglect. It is the greatest act of love you can offer to yourself and in turn to everyone around you. The world often tells us that our value lies in what we can give to others, in how much we can sacrifice, in how tirelessly we can serve. And while there is beauty in giving, there is danger in forgetting yourself in the process. Too many of us have been conditioned to believe that showing up half alive is enough, that our fragments are all the world deserves. But here is the truth that must be spoken again and again. The world benefits most when you show up as your full self. Not the weary self that is constantly drained. Not the silent self that carries unspoken burdens. Not the apologetic self that hides its light. The world needs the whole of you, the real of you, the vibrant of you. Think of how often you have walked into a space tired, overextended, weighed down with guilt, and still tried to offer kindness. Yes, you managed to give something, but it was a shadow of what you could have given if you had been whole. Think of the difference when you walk in rested, clear, at peace with yourself. Your words carry more power, your smile shines brighter, your presence itself becomes a gift. That is the strength of your full self. For too long, guilt has tricked us into believing that our fragments are enough. It has whispered that we should keep giving even when our spirit is empty. It has told us that putting ourselves last is the noble choice. But what kind of world are we creating when everyone is walking around half alive? What kind of love are we offering when it is built on exhaustion instead of abundance? What kind of kindness are we giving when it is wrapped in resentment instead of joy? Showing up whole is not about being perfect. It is not about having every answer or never stumbling. Wholeness does not mean flawlessness. Wholeness means authenticity. It means you bring your truth, your boundaries, your laughter, your tears, your voice without apology. It means you refuse to break yourself into pieces just to make others comfortable. The world does not need your mask, it needs your truth. It does not need your fragments, it needs your fullness. When you begin to honor yourself, when you begin to say no to what breaks you and yes to what restores you, something powerful happens. You reclaim your energy, you reclaim your clarity, you reclaim your joy. And then what you offer to others is not forced, it flows. What you give is not drained from you, it is poured from your overflow. That is when your presence becomes transformative. That is when your relationships deepen. That is when your work carries more meaning. There will always be demands. There will always be people who ask for more than you can give. But when you understand the sacredness of your wholeness, you no longer respond from guilt. You respond from wisdom. You know that saying yes when you are broken serves no one. You know that protecting your wholeness allows you to show up stronger and more authentic. And though some may resist, in time they too will feel the difference between the fragmented you and the whole you. Wholeness also gives you freedom. Freedom to live without apology, freedom to take up space, freedom to follow your purpose without being chained by guilt. And in that freedom, you become an example to others. You show them that it is possible to live without breaking yourself apart. You remind them that they too are allowed to be whole. Your wholeness is not just for you. It is a light that guides others toward their own. So let go of the old story that says your worth is in sacrifice alone. Let go of the guilt that tells you to offer your fragments. Choose instead to stand fully in yourself. Choose to honor your energy, your peace, your joy. Because the truth is simple and undeniable. The world does not benefit from your broken pieces. The world benefits most when you show up as your full self. Freedom is not always found in grand gestures. Sometimes it is hidden in the smallest choices we make. The moment you decide to stop living under the weight of guilt, the moment you give yourself permission to breathe without apology, the moment you say, I am allowed to choose me, freedom begins. It does not wait for the approval of others. It does not require an announcement. It begins quietly within you, and from that quietness, it grows into strength that cannot be taken away. For years, many of us have lived believing that to choose ourselves was to abandon others. We believed that to rest was laziness, that to say no was cruelty, that to dream for ourselves was arrogance. And so we gave and gave until we had nothing left. We broke ourselves into pieces so the world could take what it wanted. And even then, guilt whispered that we were still not enough. But guilt was never the truth. It was a story planted in us, a chain wrapped around us, a shadow pressed against our light. Freedom begins when we unlearn that story and step into a new one. Choosing yourself does not mean closing the door on others. It does not mean shutting down compassion or walking away from responsibility. It means you finally understand that love includes you too. You cannot keep pouring from an empty vessel. You cannot keep silencing your needs and still call it kindness. You cannot keep burying your dreams and still call it humility. Choosing yourself is the act of stepping into balance, of saying my life matters too, of daring to believe that your wholeness is worthy of protection. There will always be voices that resist this freedom. They may tell you that you have changed, and they are right. You are no longer the person who allowed guilt to guide your steps. They may call you selfish, but selfishness is taking without care. And choosing yourself is caring deeply for the soul that carries you. They may grow uncomfortable because your boundaries reveal where they have crossed lines before. Do not let their discomfort drag you back into the old cage. Your freedom is not for them to validate. Your freedom is yours to live. As you practice choosing yourself, something powerful begins to happen. The guilt that once sat heavy on your chest begins to lose its grip. You start to breathe easier, laugh louder, walk lighter. You notice that when you show up for others, you do it with more joy, more honesty, more strength. That is because you are no longer giving from depletion, you are giving from overflow. Freedom gives you back your energy, your clarity, your joy. And from that place, everything you touch grows. Freedom also gives you a new voice, a voice that no longer trembles when it speaks truth. A voice that does not soften its edges just to keep the peace. A voice that does not apologize for existing. This voice is not cruel, it is steady. It is grounded in love. And it reminds you every day that your worth is not tied to how much you sacrifice, but to the simple and undeniable fact that you are here, alive, and deserving of wholeness. And as you walk in this freedom, you inspire others. They see you choosing yourself without guilt, and they begin to wonder if they can too. Your courage gives them courage. Your peace calls them toward their own. Freedom is not selfish, it is contagious. And when one soul rises unashamed, it gives countless others permission to rise as well. So hold this truth close. Freedom does not wait for perfect timing. It does not wait for every voice around you to agree. It begins the moment you decide you are worthy of choosing yourself. That choice is not rebellion. That choice is healing. That choice is love. And love is the only ground on which a soul can truly stand whole. As we draw this journey to a close, remember this. Your life is yours to honor, your heart is yours to protect, and your spirit is yours to nurture. Unlearning guilt, choosing yourself, protecting your peace, and standing in your truth are not acts of selfishness. They are acts of courage, love, and freedom. Every step you take toward your wholeness ripples into the world, inspiring others to rise as well. So walk boldly, speak clearly, rest deeply, and embrace the life you are allowed to claim. Your light is needed, your voice is needed, and most of all, you are needed, fully, freely, and unapologetically. Good luck on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Thank you for giving yourself the gift of presence today, and for allowing these words to remind you of the power, beauty, and sacredness of choosing you. Dear sisters, imagine a world where words are not always the bridge, where the loudest voice in the room is not the one speaking, but the one listening. There is a sacred power in silence, a depth that hums beneath the noise of our hurried lives. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence. It is the quiet courage to sit with yourself, to hold your own thoughts, and to honor the space between your heart and the world. But there is a shadow that can look like silence, and it is called emotional withdrawal. This is a retreat not of strength, but of fear, a closing off of the heart where the warmth of connection slowly fades. Understanding the difference between these two is not a lesson of intellect, but a lesson of soul. Silence speaks. It whispers truths that the ears of the world cannot always hear. It teaches patience, invites reflection, and allows the spirit to gather itself. In silence, we find clarity, the kind that cannot be rushed, the kind that cannot be borrowed. Emotional withdrawal, however, hides behind silence. It tells us we are safe when we are isolated, that shutting the world out protects us, when in truth it starves the heart. One is an embrace, one is a retreat, one is intentional, one is defensive. The wise learn to distinguish between the two, for life demands engagement, demands that we love, feel, and exist fully even when the world presses hard against us. There are moments when silence is golden, Moments when stepping back and listening is more powerful than speaking 1,000 words. There is wisdom in not answering the anger, in not feeding the fear, in holding your tongue when your soul tells you that words are not yet ready. But emotional withdrawal is a wall built not from wisdom, but from wounds. And it isolates us from the very life we are meant to touch. It convinces us that distance is protection, yet every heartbeat reminds us that connection is survival. There is a quiet power in choosing silence, a strength that often goes unnoticed in a world that celebrates noise, opinion, and haste. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is a deliberate act of courage, a moment when the heart decides that words are not necessary, that the presence of the soul is louder than any spoken sentence. When we embrace silence, we are claiming our own space in a world that constantly demands our attention, our response, our validation. It is in those still moments that we find the strength to gather our thoughts, to understand our emotions, and to listen deeply to the truth of ourselves. Strength in silence is not passive. It is a choice to be intentional, to step back, to breathe, and to allow the world to speak to us before we speak to it. Emotional withdrawal, in contrast, masquerades as silence, yet it carries a very different weight. Where silence is presence, withdrawal is absence. It is a retreat behind walls that we build in fear, behind doors that shut out connection and warmth. It is the closing of the heart rather than the quieting of the mind. When we confuse withdrawal with silence, we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow, to learn, to engage meaningfully with life and with those around us. Strength in silence is about choice. Withdrawal is about avoidance. One nourishes the soul, the other starves it. One invites life in, the other pushes it away. Choosing silence requires awareness, a mindfulness that allows us to differentiate between when to speak and when to listen. It is an act of self-respect and patience, a recognition that not every moment demands our words, not every argument needs our voice, and not every hurt requires immediate reaction. In these quiet moments, we become aware of our own emotions, our patterns, our fears, and our desires. We learn to understand the roots of our anger, the source of our sadness, the depth of our joy. Silence becomes a teacher, and in listening to its lessons, we cultivate resilience, insight, and self-mastery. Emotional withdrawal, however, closes us off from these teachings. It convinces us that hiding is safety, that avoiding is protection, when in truth it robs us of understanding and growth. Strength in silence is also strength in empathy. When we pause, when we withhold judgment, when we allow the stillness to guide our responses, we create space for others to be heard. We allow relationships to breathe, to exist without the pressure of constant commentary or defense. We show patience, understanding, and respect. In silence, we are not absent. We are present in a deeper, more meaningful way. Emotional withdrawal pretends to offer protection, but instead disconnects us from others, leaving hearts unshared and bonds weakened. One invites connection, the other prevents it. Recognizing this distinction is vital, for it shapes not only how we interact with the world, but how the world interacts with us. The strength found in silence also manifests as inner peace. When we practice mindful quiet, we are not pulled by every provocation, every criticism, every fear. We create a calm center from which we can act decisively, wisely, and with integrity. We are not driven by impulse, but guided by understanding. Emotional withdrawal, by contrast, breeds restlessness, fear, and loneliness. It convinces us that shutting out the world will protect us, yet in doing so, it often amplifies internal turmoil. Strength in silence is not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of feeling. A deliberate and intentional approach to life that allows us to engage fully without losing ourselves. Every person must learn the difference between silence and withdrawal. For it is in that distinction that true courage is found. Silence teaches us to be patient with our own hearts and with the hearts of others. It gives us the confidence to speak only when our words carry meaning, to act only when our actions are rooted in purpose, and to love without fear of immediate return. Emotional withdrawal, however, teaches avoidance and fear, leaving the soul untested and the heart incomplete. One invites growth, the other stunts it. One empowers, the other diminishes. To choose silence is to claim strength over reaction, wisdom over impulse, presence over absence. It is a quiet power that shapes character, nurtures connection, and fosters clarity of thought and depth of feeling. It is the courage to be still, the courage to listen, and the courage to honor the life within and around us. True silence is never empty. It is full of insight, resilience, and grace, standing as a testament to the power of a heart that chooses presence over avoidance, courage over fear, and life over mere survival. This is the strength found in silence, and in embracing it, we find not only ourselves, but the world waiting patiently to be heard. Choosing silence is an act of intention, a conscious decision to step back from the noise and chaos of life and allow our minds and hearts the space to breathe. It is not a retreat born of fear, nor is it an excuse to ignore the world. It is a deliberate pause, a moment to reflect, to understand, and to grow. When we allow ourselves the gift of silence, we create a sacred space in which clarity emerges, decisions are illuminated, and the truths of our hearts can be heard above the clamor of external demands. Reflection, in this sense, is not idle thinking, but a profound engagement with the inner self. It is the mind turning gently toward understanding, the heart opening to its own emotions, and the soul listening to the subtle whispers of wisdom that often go unnoticed when we are consumed by words and distractions. In reflection, we confront ourselves honestly. We see the patterns of our behavior, the choices we have made, and the ways we have responded to the world around us. This honesty is not always easy, for it may reveal our fears, our mistakes, and our moments of weakness. Yet it is through this courage to see ourselves clearly that growth occurs. Silence becomes the mirror in which we behold our truest selves, not filtered by the expectations of others or the pressures of society, but revealed in its raw and unembellished form. Emotional withdrawal, in contrast, it hides us from this mirror. It convinces us that avoiding our feelings, our relationships, or our challenges will protect us, yet it only distances us from the lessons and growth that life demands. Reflection in silence strengthens the heart, while withdrawal leaves it dormant, untouched by the light of self-awareness. When we reflect in silence, we also cultivate patience. The world around us moves with relentless urgency, and it is easy to react impulsively to situations, letting anger, frustration, or fear dictate our responses. Reflection nurtured in silence teaches restraint and discernment. It gives us the ability to pause before speaking, to observe before acting, and to respond rather than react. It allows us to weigh our words carefully, to consider the impact of our choices, and to act with intention and integrity. Emotional withdrawal, on the other hand, encourages avoidance and detachment. It convinces us that stepping back indefinitely is protection, but it robs us of the wisdom that comes from thoughtful engagement. Silence is not avoidance, it is preparation, a gathering of strength before we meet the world with clarity and purpose. Reflection in silence also deepens empathy and understanding. When we take the time to listen to ourselves, we are better able to listen to others. We become aware of our own vulnerabilities, and in that awareness, develop compassion for the struggles of those around us. We recognize that every person carries burdens unseen, that every heart has moments of fear, doubt, and pain. This understanding cannot flourish in the noise of constant speech or in the isolation of emotional withdrawal. Silence creates the fertile ground where empathy can grow, where the heart learns the rhythm of connection, and where relationships are strengthened by patience, presence, and mutual respect. In practicing reflection through silence, we also nurture clarity of purpose. Life presents us with countless choices and endless distractions, and it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. By embracing the quiet, we allow ourselves to discern our priorities, to hear the quiet callings of our passions, and to align our actions with our deepest values. Withdrawal, in contrast, leads to stagnation, a drifting through life without direction or connection. Silence, when chosen intentionally, empowers us to step into the world with a sense of direction, confidence, and authenticity. The power of reflection in silence extends beyond self-awareness. It fosters resilience. In those quiet moments, we confront our fears, examine our weaknesses, and strengthen our resolve. We learn that life's challenges are not threats to be avoided, but opportunities to grow. And that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the courage to face it with clarity and grace. Emotional withdrawal shields us from struggle temporarily, but deprives us of the resilience that comes from engagement, understanding, and thoughtful response. To reflect in silence is to honor ourselves. It is to give our hearts the room to speak, our minds the space to consider, and our souls the freedom to learn. It is a gift that nurtures growth, deepens understanding, and cultivates the strength to act with wisdom and courage. Reflection transforms silence from emptiness into a powerful presence, one that sustains us in times of turmoil, guides us through uncertainty, and allows us to connect meaningfully with the world and the people around us. When we choose silence as a path to reflection, we embrace growth, understanding, and clarity. In this sacred quiet, we find not only ourselves, but the courage to step forward fully into the life we are meant to live. Emotional withdrawal is a subtle shadow that creeps into our lives, often disguised as calm or composure. Yet it carries a weight that silences the heart and dims the light of connection. It is not a choice made from strength, but a reaction born of fear, hurt, or disappointment. When we withdraw emotionally, we build walls around ourselves, walls meant to protect us from pain, but that also block joy, love, and understanding. The irony is that in attempting to shield ourselves, we isolate our hearts, leaving them untested and unfulfilled. Unlike silence, which is deliberate and healing, emotional withdrawal is a retreat that distances us from life itself, from the richness of experience and the beauty of human connection. It convinces us that by pulling back, we are safe, yet it quietly erodes our relationships, leaving emptiness where vibrancy should exist. Withdrawal often begins subtly, a hesitation to share thoughts or feelings, a reluctance to engage in meaningful conversation, or a quiet avoidance of those we love. At first, it may seem harmless, even protective. We tell ourselves that staying quiet will prevent conflict, that stepping back will spare us pain. But over time, this retreat deepens. It becomes a habit, a pattern that shapes the way we interact with the world. We stop sharing our joys, our fears, our dreams. We become spectators in our own lives rather than participants, observing from a distance but never fully immersed. In this state, emotional withdrawal separates us not only from others, but from ourselves. We forget the sound of our own voice, the rhythm of our own heart, and the warmth of connection that sustains us. Silence, in contrast, is an intentional choice. It is a quiet power that allows reflection, understanding, and presence. Silence nurtures the soul, creating space to process emotions, to consider words carefully, and to respond with intention rather than impulse. It is a tool for clarity and growth, a means to engage more fully with life rather than avoid it. Emotional withdrawal pretends to be silence, but is, in truth, a shadow of fear. It isolates rather than connects, distances rather than embraces, and numbs rather than heals. Recognizing this difference is crucial, for it shapes the quality of our relationships, our sense of self, and our capacity to live fully. The effects of emotional withdrawal ripple beyond the individual. In relationships, it creates a gap where intimacy once thrived. Friends, partners, and family members may sense the distance, feel the coldness, and struggle to bridge the chasm. Communication becomes strained, trust wavers, and bonds weaken. The withdrawn heart may believe it is protecting itself from hurt, yet the absence of presence often causes more pain than the challenges it sought to avoid. Relationships are nourished by connection, vulnerability, and shared experience, and when withdrawal replaces engagement, love cannot flourish. Silence, on the other hand, strengthens relationships when used wisely. It allows listening, reflection, and understanding to take root, creating a deeper, more authentic connection with those around us. Emotional withdrawal also stunts personal growth. Life teaches us through challenges, interactions, and emotional engagement. When we retreat, we deprive ourselves of lessons that come from facing fears, resolving conflicts, and expressing our hearts. Withdrawal encourages stagnation, leaving the soul untested and unshaped by experience. Silence, chosen intentionally, fosters growth. It allows us to process, to heal, and to prepare for thoughtful action. It teaches patience, discernment, and self-awareness, qualities that withdrawal cannot provide. In learning to distinguish between silence and withdrawal, we reclaim our power to grow, to connect, and to live intentionally. The courage to resist withdrawal and embrace authentic presence is an act of strength. It requires vulnerability, the willingness to risk disappointment, rejection, or misunderstanding, and the faith that connection is worth the effort. It is not easy to open the heart when fear whispers that protection lies in retreat. Yet the human spirit thrives on interaction, on the sharing of emotions, and on the experience of being truly seen and heard. Silence can support this process, offering moments of reflection and preparation, but withdrawal denies it, leaving the heart untouched and the world unengaged. Emotional withdrawal also affects our inner world. It fosters loneliness, self-doubt, and a quiet despair. We may tell ourselves that we are fine. That retreat is temporary, but beneath the surface, the heart aches for connection. It longs to be felt, to be expressed, to be alive. In contrast, silence offers rest and renewal, a chance to reconnect with our inner self, to understand our emotions, and to emerge ready to engage with the world. Withdrawal, unchecked, leads to a dulling of spirit, a sense of separation from life's vibrancy, and a loss of the joy that comes from meaningful connection. To live fully is to engage with the world without fear, to feel deeply, to love boldly, and to be present even when challenges arise. Emotional withdrawal may seem like safety, but it is an illusion. True courage lies in embracing connection, in expressing the heart, and in choosing silence that heals rather than withdrawal that isolates. When we recognize the difference, we reclaim the power to live authentically, to nurture our relationships, and to allow the full richness of life to touch our souls. Emotional withdrawal may whisper that retreat is protection, but connection, presence, and courageous engagement are the paths to a heart fully alive. True silence is a language of its own, a way of being that communicates without words, a power that speaks louder than speech when wielded with intention. It is not the absence of voice, but the presence of awareness, a stillness that allows the heart to listen, the mind to reflect, and the soul to breathe. True silence is never empty. It carries meaning, it carries wisdom, it carries the capacity to transform. In a world where voices compete for attention, where opinions collide, and where haste often overpowers thought, true silence is a sanctuary. It teaches us patience, invites contemplation, and reminds us that we do not always need to react or explain ourselves to be understood. Emotional withdrawal, however, masquerades as silence while carrying a very different weight. Where silence is intentional and communicative, withdrawal is defensive and isolating. One is a gift to ourselves and others, the other is a barrier between the heart and the world. To understand the power of true silence, we must first recognize its depth. Silence allows us to step back from the noise of life and engage with our inner selves. It is in these quiet moments that clarity emerges, when the mind is free from distraction, and when the heart can discern what is truly important. True silence is a mirror reflecting our thoughts, emotions, and intentions without distortion. It is not fear-driven, it is presence-driven. It teaches us to observe rather than react, to respond rather than defend, and to act with purpose rather than impulse. Emotional withdrawal, in contrast, is absence-driven. It convinces us that retreat protects us from pain, but in truth, it disconnects us from growth, understanding, and meaningful engagement. There is also a profound strength in true silence. It requires courage to remain quiet when provoked, to listen when others demand your voice, and to withhold judgment when anger or impatience tempts us to speak. This silence is active, a conscious choice to honor thought and reflection over reaction. It is a strength that communicates boundaries, composure, and self-respect. Emotional withdrawal, however, lacks this conscious strength. It hides behind walls, convincing the self that isolation is safety, when in reality, it breeds loneliness, fear, and stagnation. Silence nurtures resilience, withdrawal diminishes it. True silence is also deeply relational. When we remain quiet in the presence of others, not from avoidance but from attentiveness, we create space for understanding, empathy, and connection. We allow others to speak, to be heard, and to be seen. This form of silence is not absence, it is presence without intrusion. It carries the message that we value the other, that we are listening fully, and that we are willing to hold space for dialogue to unfold naturally. Emotional withdrawal, by contrast, communicates absence. It tells the world that we are unreachable, that our hearts are closed, and that connection is unwanted. One builds bridges, the other builds walls. The practice of true silence also fosters self-awareness. In quiet reflection, we encounter our own truths, recognize our emotions, and confront our fears. Silence becomes a teacher, guiding us toward understanding, compassion, and personal growth. It is a space where we learn to differentiate between reaction and response, impulse and intention, fear and wisdom. Emotional withdrawal, however, avoids these lessons. By retreating from feelings, from challenges, and from engagement, we deny ourselves the chance to grow, to heal, and to connect meaningfully with the world. True silence can also be a source of profound creativity and insight. In the absence of constant chatter, the mind is free to explore, to imagine, and to conceive new possibilities. It allows intuition to rise, ideas to form, and understanding to deepen. Emotional withdrawal cannot foster this growth, for it is not a deliberate stillness but a void, a space of avoidance that stifles reflection and diminishes the richness of life. Silence, intentional and present, becomes the medium through which clarity, wisdom, and purpose flow. Withdrawal blocks that flow. Finally, true silence is a gift, both to ourselves and to those around us. It teaches patience, cultivates empathy, strengthens understanding, and allows for intentional, meaningful engagement. It is a powerful tool that nurtures connection, wisdom, and self-mastery. Emotional withdrawal, by contrast, isolates, diminishes, and obscures the beauty of connection. Choosing silence is an act of courage, presence, and wisdom. Choosing withdrawal is an act of fear and avoidance. True silence communicates what words often cannot. It listens, it observes, it reflects, and it connects. In embracing this silence, we find strength, clarity, and the ability to engage with life fully, deeply, and with intention. Awareness is the seed from which understanding grows, and in relationships, in life, and in the quiet corners of our own hearts, it is awareness that teaches us the subtle distinctions that shape our experience. To be aware of the difference between silence and emotional withdrawal is not merely a mental exercise, it is a practice of the heart, a cultivation of insight that colors the way we relate to ourselves and to others. Many of us live through life responding impulsively, reacting to words spoken or left unspoken, letting fear or assumption guide our interactions. We mistake retreat for protection, quietude for disengagement, and in that confusion, opportunities for growth, connection, and healing are lost. Awareness allows us to pause, to discern, and to act with intention. It opens our eyes to the difference between a heart choosing quiet reflection and a heart retreating out of fear. And in that clarity lies the power to nurture relationships and to honor our own inner lives. When we are aware, we recognize that silence is a deliberate space we create, a moment to listen to the whispers of our own hearts, to observe without judgment, and to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. Silence is a sanctuary, a pause in the rhythm of life that allows thought, feeling, and understanding to take shape. It is not absence, it is presence in its most refined form. Emotional withdrawal, in contrast, is a closing off, a retreat that distances the heart from both others and from itself. Withdrawal may feel safe, but it denies growth, understanding, and the richness of authentic connection. Awareness is the compass that guides us in choosing reflection over retreat, presence over isolation, and engagement over avoidance. The practice of awareness also nurtures compassion. When we are aware of our own tendencies towards silence or withdrawal, we are better equipped to recognize these patterns in others. We begin to understand that not every quiet moment is a withdrawal, that some silences are gifts, opportunities to pause, to heal, and to listen. This awareness softens judgment, cultivates empathy, and strengthens bonds, for we learn to honor the intentions behind silence rather than misinterpreting it as rejection. Emotional withdrawal, unrecognized and unexamined, can breed resentment, misunderstanding, and distance. Awareness bridges that gap, turning potential conflict into understanding and turning distance into opportunity for connection. Awareness also strengthens personal integrity. When we know the difference between silence and withdrawal, we choose how we wish to engage with the world. We choose reflection over impulsivity, thoughtfulness over avoidance, and presence over disengagement. This choice is an act of courage, for it requires honesty with ourselves, a willingness to face discomfort, and the recognition that growth often demands vulnerability. Emotional withdrawal tempts us with the illusion of safety, but awareness reminds us that true safety is found not in retreat, but in conscious, intentional engagement. Silence, guided by awareness, becomes a tool of empowerment rather than a refuge from life's challenges. In relationships, awareness allows us to nurture trust and intimacy. When we pause to understand the difference between silence and withdrawal, we see the intentions behind words unspoken and actions restrained. We learn to listen more deeply, to respond with care, and to create space for authentic expression. We no longer assume absence equals disinterest or quiet equals rejection. Instead, we honor the rhythms of connection, recognizing that true presence often requires listening, patience, and reflection. Emotional withdrawal, if unchecked, undermines this process, creating distance and eroding trust. Awareness becomes the bridge that restores understanding, builds resilience, and fosters the kind of intimacy that sustains relationships over time. Awareness is also a teacher of self-care. By recognizing when our own silence is healing versus when it is withdrawal, we honor our emotional needs without shutting out the world. We learn to balance reflection with engagement, introspection with action, and quiet with expression. Emotional withdrawal, left unchecked, can lead to stagnation, isolation, and even despair. Awareness empowers us to respond rather than retreat, to cultivate strength rather than fear, and to embrace the fullness of life with clarity and courage. Finally, awareness is the foundation of growth. It illuminates the patterns of our hearts, the ways we connect, the ways we protect, and the ways we sometimes hide. It allows us to step into life with intention, to choose engagement over avoidance, and to embrace both silence and connection as tools of wisdom and presence. In cultivating awareness, we learn that the difference between silence and emotional withdrawal is not simply a matter of behavior, but a matter of the heart, a choice between presence and retreat, courage and fear, love and disconnection. When we live with this awareness, we are empowered to build relationships that are strong, authentic, and nurturing. We are guided to engage with life fully, to speak when necessary, to pause when needed, and to embrace silence as a path to growth rather than a mask of retreat. Awareness transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for understanding, connection, and intentional living. Awareness of the difference between silence and emotional withdrawal is the key that opens the heart to presence, connection, and the courage to live authentically. Silence has the remarkable power to heal, to restore, and to bring clarity to a heart that has been battered by the storms of life. It is not an absence, but a presence, a space where the soul can breathe, where the mind can settle, and where the heart can find its rhythm once more. Healing silence is intentional. It is a choice to pause, to listen to the whispers of our own spirit, and to allow time and reflection to guide us through the turbulence of emotion. Unlike emotional withdrawal, which hides the heart from the world, silence opens a sacred space within, inviting understanding, acceptance, and renewal. It is the difference between closing a door in fear and opening a window to insight, a difference that can shape the way we navigate pain, loss, and personal growth. When we embrace silence as a path to healing, we give ourselves permission to feel without judgment. The world often demands that we respond quickly, that we speak before we think, that we act before we understand. In such an environment, the heart becomes scattered, fragmented by the constant pull of expectation. Silence allows us to step back, to pause, and to give voice to what has been unheard within ourselves. In this quiet, we confront our fears, our regrets, and our sorrows, not to dwell in them, but to understand them. Emotional withdrawal, however, bypasses this essential process. Withdrawal tells us to ignore the pain, to hide from it, and to pretend it does not exist. It promises safety but delivers isolation, a barrier between the self and the transformative power of understanding. True silence heals because it allows presence with our own emotions, guiding us to clarity and resilience. Healing silence is also a teacher of patience. Life does not always offer immediate answers, and the heart does not always mend in a single moment. It is in the quiet, in the patient observation of our own thoughts and feelings, that we cultivate endurance and grace. We learn to navigate discomfort, to sit with uncertainty, and to trust that time and reflection can illuminate the path forward. Emotional withdrawal, in contrast, seeks the illusion of immediate protection, but it cannot nurture patience or resilience. By avoiding engagement, we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow stronger through introspection and mindful presence. Silence teaches us that healing is a process, a gentle unfolding rather than a sudden fix. This silence also deepens self-awareness and insight. When we allow ourselves moments of stillness, we begin to notice patterns in our emotions and behaviors, to understand the triggers that disrupt our peace, and to recognize the choices that lead us toward or away from growth. In this reflective space, we learn to distinguish between temporary discomfort and deeper wounds, between reaction and wisdom, and between the fleeting voice of fear and the steady guidance of intuition. Emotional withdrawal obstructs this awareness, blurring the distinction between avoidance and reflection, and leaving the heart unprepared to face challenges with clarity and courage. Healing silence, by contrast, sharpens the mind and fortifies the spirit. The power of silence to heal extends beyond the self. In relationships, it allows us to respond with intention rather than impulse. It teaches us to listen, to pause, and to honor the perspectives of others without immediately defending or judging. In these moments, bonds are strengthened not through words, but through the presence and respect we offer. Withdrawal, however, creates distance, eroding trust, and leaving unspoken tension to fester. Silence nurtures understanding, withdrawal nurtures separation. It is through mindful stillness that we cultivate empathy, restore connection, and repair the subtle fractures that arise in human interaction. Silence as healing also restores hope and courage. When we withdraw emotionally, we retreat into fear and self-protection, believing that distance will shield us from disappointment. But this retreat often magnifies loneliness and despair. True silence, on the other hand, restores balance. It reminds us of our resilience, reconnects us to our inner strength, and allows us to approach the world with renewed clarity. It teaches us that pain is not the end of the story, but a chapter in the unfolding narrative of growth, and that through reflection and presence, we can find the courage to move forward with wisdom and grace. Healing through silence is a conscious choice to remain present, to confront rather than escape, to understand rather than deny. It transforms the space between moments of hurt into a sanctuary of insight, resilience, and renewal. Emotional withdrawal cannot offer this gift, for it separates the heart from life instead of guiding it toward wholeness. Silence heals because it is active, intentional, and rooted in the courage to engage with the self honestly. When we embrace silence in this way, we discover that it is not emptiness but fullness, not absence but presence, not retreat but renewal. It carries the power to restore, to clarify, and to transform the heart, allowing us to step back into life with a sense of purpose, connection, and hope. Healing comes not from hiding, but from listening, reflecting, and allowing silence to guide the heart to wholeness. Connection is the heartbeat of life, the thread that binds us to others, to our experiences, and to the world around us. To live fully is to engage, to love, to express, and to allow ourselves to be seen. Emotional withdrawal, while often disguised as protection, severs this thread, leaving the heart isolated, the spirit untested, and the soul yearning for warmth it no longer allows in. True silence, in contrast, invites presence, encourages reflection, and strengthens the capacity for meaningful interaction. It is not an escape from life, but a deliberate choice to engage with it more thoughtfully, to act with intention, and to cultivate relationships that are authentic, resilient, and nurturing. Understanding the difference between silence and emotional withdrawal empowers us to connect deeply without losing ourselves, to be present without fear, and to embrace the richness of human experience. When we choose silence with intention, we open the door to empathy, listening without interruption, observing without judgment, and pausing before responding allows us to enter the lives of others with a heart attuned to their needs, feelings, and truths. This form of silence is a bridge, not a barrier. It conveys understanding, patience, and respect, creating a safe space where hearts can be heard and voices can be shared freely. Emotional withdrawal, however, erects walls. It convinces us that distance is protection, that detachment is safety, but in reality, it prevents connection, isolates the spirit, and diminishes the depth of our relationships. The difference is subtle but profound. One nurtures trust and intimacy, the other fosters loneliness and misunderstanding. Connection also demands courage, It requires vulnerability, the willingness to risk disappointment, rejection, or misunderstanding in order to remain present. True silence supports this courage by allowing us to gather our thoughts, reflect on our emotions, and respond with clarity rather than react impulsively. It is a pause that prepares us for authentic engagement. Emotional withdrawal, by contrast, is born of fear. It convinces us that avoidance will shield us from hurt, yet it deprives us of the very experiences that make life meaningful. In withdrawal, the heart remains untested, the spirit unchallenged, and the potential for genuine connection remains unrealized. Silence, chosen consciously, strengthens our capacity to engage, to love, and to be fully present. The practice of conscious silence also teaches patience, both with ourselves and with others. Relationships, like gardens, require time, attention, and nurturing. When we allow ourselves to pause, to reflect, and to approach interactions with thoughtfulness, we cultivate understanding and empathy. We learn to tolerate imperfection, to forgive missteps, and to embrace the rhythms of human emotion. Emotional withdrawal short-circuits this process, offering the illusion of safety while denying the growth, intimacy, and resilience that emerge through engagement. Awareness of the difference between silence and withdrawal allows us to navigate relationships with wisdom, creating bonds that are both deep and enduring. Connection thrives when we are present. Presence is more than physical proximity. It is the act of giving our full attention, of listening with care, and of responding with intentionality. Silence enhances presence by allowing us to quiet the noise within and around us, creating space for reflection and understanding. It reminds us that not every moment requires words, yet every moment can carry meaning. Emotional withdrawal diminishes presence by creating a void where attention and care should reside. One strengthens bonds, the other erodes them. One is a gift of engagement, the other is a shield of avoidance. Choosing silence over withdrawal is choosing connection over isolation. Connection also requires self-awareness. When we understand our own tendencies toward silence or withdrawal, we can navigate our emotions and interactions with clarity and integrity. We learn to recognize when quiet reflection serves growth and when retreat inhibits it. This awareness allows us to engage authentically and to offer our hearts fully and to respond to others with honesty and compassion. Emotional withdrawal, unchecked, clouds this self-awareness, leaving us disconnected from our own feelings and unable to relate meaningfully to others. Conscious silence fosters insight and understanding, creating the conditions for bonds that are resilient, genuine, and life-affirming. Ultimately, connection is the essence of living fully. It is the joy of sharing laughter, the comfort of offering support, and the warmth of being truly seen. Silence, when chosen intentionally, strengthens connection by fostering understanding, empathy, and presence. Withdrawal, however, diminishes it by cultivating distance, fear, and isolation. Recognizing the difference is an act of courage and wisdom, a commitment to engage with life and with others fully, without surrendering the self to fear or avoidance. To embrace connection is to embrace life itself, to choose presence over retreat, love over fear, and engagement over avoidance. Silence becomes a tool of strength, a guide to empathy, and a bridge to meaningful relationships. Emotional withdrawal is a shadow that diminishes the heart's capacity to connect, while intentional silence empowers the soul to meet the world with courage, authenticity, and love. Connection thrives when we choose presence, reflection, and intentional silence over fear and withdrawal, allowing our hearts to touch others and the world in profound and lasting ways. As we draw our journey to a close, remember that silence and emotional withdrawal are not the same. Silence is a gift, a deliberate pause that nurtures the heart, sharpens the mind, and deepens connection. It is a quiet strength, a space for reflection, healing, and understanding. Emotional withdrawal, on the other hand, is a retreat born of fear, a barrier that isolates the heart and dims the light of our relationships. To live fully, we must embrace silence with intention, to pause without retreating, to listen without closing off, and to engage without fear. In doing so, we cultivate empathy, wisdom, courage, and love. Carry this understanding with you into every moment of life. Let your silence be purposeful, your presence be authentic, and your heart remain open even in the face of challenges. By distinguishing between thoughtful reflection and withdrawal, we empower ourselves to build stronger connections, nurture our growth, and live with intention and grace. May you step forward with clarity, courage, and the quiet strength of your own heart. Good luck on your journey of presence, understanding, and meaningful connection. Thank you.